Something begins to change in people as they move through their 40s. Not loudly, not in ways others immediately notice, but internally, something recalibrates. You start realizing that your energy feels different. Social situations you once tolerated now feel heavier. Conversations that used to pass the time now feel strangely empty. And sometimes you catch yourself thinking, when did I become this selective? It doesn't feel like aging. It feels like awareness. For years, saying yes felt natural. Yes to invitations. Yes to obligations. Yes to people who needed your time. Life moved fast, and participation felt necessary. Being available felt like being connected. Being busy felt like living fully. But now, before agreeing to anything, there's a quiet pause. And that pause matters. More than people realize, because inside that moment is a new question your mind has learned to ask. How will this actually make me feel afterward? If this kind of psychology helps you understand changes you've been noticing in yourself, consider subscribing. These conversations are meant for reflection, not noise. Here's where the shift quietly begins. Earlier in life, openness serves a purpose. You explore friendships, careers, identities. You try different environments because you're still discovering who you are. Energy feels renewable. Recovery feels automatic. Even mistakes feel temporary because time seems endless. But somewhere along the way, experience starts teaching a different lesson. You begin remembering how long it takes to recover from emotional exhaustion. You notice how certain interactions stay in your mind long after they end. A brief conversation can replay for hours. A stressful day follows you into the evening. And slowly, your brain starts protecting you before you even ask it to. This is not withdrawal. It is psychological filtering. And this is where many people misunderstand themselves. They assume they're becoming less patient or less interested in others. But what's actually happening is that your mind has learned the true cost of attention. Every conversation requires energy. Every commitment occupies mental space. Every relationship carries emotional weight, even the good ones. When you're younger, you don't calculate that cost. After decades of experience, you do automatically. Now this part matters, as time feels more valuable. Your tolerance for unnecessary stress quietly decreases. You don't argue as quickly. You don't chase approval the same way. You stop explaining yourself to people, determined not to understand you. Silence begins to feel wiser than persuasion, and something surprising happens. Peace begins to feel more rewarding than excitement. You may notice it first in friendships. Large social circles shrink naturally, not through conflict, but through clarity. You gravitate toward people who feel steady rather than stimulating. Conversations become slower, deeper, more honest. You leave feeling calm instead of drained. And here's the uncomfortable realization. Familiarity alone is no longer enough to maintain connection. Shared emotional safety starts mattering more than shared history. That realization can feel lonely at first, because becoming selective often means outgrowing environments that once felt normal. Places you used to enjoy feel louder. Dynamics you once accepted feel heavier. And for a while, you wonder if something is wrong with you. But nothing is wrong. Your mind is simply aligning with who you've become. And this is where the psychology becomes visible. Your identity is no longer expanding outward. It is stabilizing inward. You are no longer asking, who should I become? You are asking, what actually fits who I already am? And this is where the deeper change unfolds. In relationships, reactions soften. Not because feelings disappear, but because perspective grows. Arguments that once felt urgent now seem temporary. You listen longer. You respond slower. You recognize patterns faster. And because you recognize them, you no longer feel compelled to engage every time. You begin choosing emotional stability over emotional intensity. But here's what most people never say out loud. Selectivity can feel misunderstood. Others may interpret your calm distance as disinterest. They may wonder why you don't engage the way you used to, why you leave earlier, Why you protect your time more carefully. What they don't see is the internal calculation happening quietly inside you. You are measuring peace. Career priorities often shift in the same way. Achievement alone stops feeling fulfilling if it constantly drains you. Titles matter less than autonomy. Productivity matters less than sustainability. You begin valuing environments where you can think clearly rather than constantly prove your worth. You start asking a different question. Can I live like this long term? And that question changes everything. Social tolerance evolves too. Loud environments feel louder. Constant urgency feels unnecessary. You begin protecting quiet moments because they restore something deeper than entertainment ever did. Solitude stops feeling like absence and starts feeling like recovery. And this is where many viewers recognize themselves. You stop attending things out of obligation. You say no without guilt. You leave earlier. You choose fewer commitments, but show up more fully where it truly matters. Presence replaces availability. These are not small behavioral changes. Psychologically, they signal emotional maturity. Your brain is no longer optimizing for approval. It is optimizing for balance. And here's the paradox. As your world becomes smaller externally, it often becomes calmer internally. Anxiety decreases. Comparisons fade. The need to prove yourself slowly dissolves. You notice longer stretches of mental quiet, something that once felt impossible. You begin experiencing something rare, enoughness, not because life became perfect, but because your expectations aligned with reality. You stop chasing constant improvement and start appreciating stability. And this is where the evolution becomes clear. Selectivity is not about closing doors. It is about understanding which doors were never meant to stay open forever. 40 feels different because experience finally connects with identity. You are no longer chasing every possibility. You are choosing meaning deliberately, protecting energy deliberately, living deliberately. So if you've noticed yourself becoming more selective, more protective of your time, more careful with your energy, it may not be a loss of openness at all. It may be wisdom becoming practical. You are not withdrawing from life. You are refining your relationship with it. And maybe that's the quiet truth no one explains when you're younger, that peace is not something you stumble into accidentally. It's something your psychology slowly learns to choose. And if this reflection felt familiar to you, subscribe and stay with us. Because sometimes understanding yourself doesn't require changing who you are, only recognizing who you've already become.